The coffee is poured, the good plates are out, and somewhere in the kitchen a cast iron skillet is holding its little secret. In the 1950s, few desserts knew how to steal the show quite like a pineapple upside down cake. It had everything a mid-century table loved. Bright pineapple, little red cherries, amber caramel, and that wonderful moment when the skillet was flipped, revealing the whole cake like a magic trick. It was cheerful, affordable, and just dramatic enough to make an ordinary coffee table feel like a special occasion. And today, we're bringing that golden old classic back, just the way it deserves to shine. Hello my friends and fellow Apolonians, welcome back to Apaulos Diner. I'm your host Apaulo Jupiter, and today we're making one of the great showpieces of the mid-century dessert table. Pineapple upside down cake. It actually became popular back in the canned pineapple boom of the 1920s, but by the 1950s, this cheerful skillet cake had firmly earned its place on American coffee tables. And today, we're giving this old favorite the kind of care a proper 1950s table classic deserves. Let's get started! Alright, before this cake there has to be that famous golden top. For that we'll start with 7 canned pineapple rings, nicely drained and patted dry. And yes, we do want to pat them as dry as possible. Pineapple juice is wonderful in a pina colada, but the bottom of our caramel is not that place. The pineapple is here for beauty, not for flooding the theater. Now we'll use a cast iron skillet of about 25 to 26 centimeters or roughly 10 inches. And in goes 45 grams or about 3 tablespoons of butter. We melt this very gently over low heat, no sizzling, no browning, no drama just yet. Don't go overboard with the heat, or the caramel might split before it even had a chance to behave. Once the butter is melted, we sprinkle in 70 grams of white sugar and 70 grams of dry brown sugar, about 1/3 of a cup each. Instead of dry brown sugar, you can also use muscovado sugar. That's what I'm using today. It has a little more molasses in it, which gives the topping a richer aroma and a slightly more rustic look. The combination of white and brown sugar gives us that lighter amber caramel look. Not too dark, not too heavy, just enough to make the pineapple shine. Then we add 1 tablespoon or about 50 milliliters of water and stir for just a few seconds, only until the sugar is moistened. We're not making a deep caramel sauce here. We're simply giving the sugar a little encouragement so it melts properly later in the oven. Then we take it off the heat and let it sit for about a minute, just to thicken slightly. And now comes the part where this cake starts putting on its Sunday best. We arrange the pineapple rings in the skillet. Place a cherry in each center and gently press them into the topping. Not too much, just enough so they know where they belong. And now our pineapple rings can sit there looking pretty while we move on to the cake batter. In a bowl, we combine 190 grams or 1½ cups of flour, 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give that a quick whisk just to make sure the baking powder is evenly distributed. We want the cake to rise politely, not choose one dramatic corner of the skillet. In a separate bowl, we add 115 grams or ½ cup of softened butter and 150 grams or 3/4 cup of sugar. Now we cream this together for a minute or two until it looks a little lighter and smoother. Then we add 2 large eggs, one at a time, mixing after each one. Next comes 1 teaspoon or about 5 milliliters of vanilla extract, because cake without vanilla always feels like it forgot its hat. And now we add the dry ingredients in 2 additions, alternating with 120 milliliters or ½ cup of milk. And if you want a slightly stronger pineapple note in the cake itself, you can also add 2 tablespoons or about 30 milliliters of pineapple juice from the can. Mix just until everything comes together into a smooth batter. No over mixing. This is a tender yellow cake, not a workout for the flour. And once our batter is ready, we can bring it over to the skillet. And now comes a small but important moment. We do not want to push our beautiful pineapple arrangement all over the skillet. So instead of pouring the batter in one heroic blob, we spoon it in smaller dollops around the pan, starting near the edges, then filling in the center. That way, the batter spreads more gently, and our pineapple rings stay where we politely ask them to stay. Alright, once the batter is in, we lightly connect and smooth out the top. No pressing, no heavy spreading, just enough to level the surface. We are guiding the batter, not redecorating the whole kitchen. Now, this goes into a preheated oven at 175 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 38 to 45 minutes. I like to start checking at around 35 minutes because every oven has its own personality and some of them are more dramatic than others. And in it goes, on its little journey to glory. Alright, while our cake is in the oven, let's give it a little moment in the history spotlight. Pineapple upside down cake did not begin in the 1950s. It actually took off much earlier, in the 1920s, when canned pineapple became a modern kitchen marvel and suddenly made this bright tropical fruit easy to use all year round. Recipe contests, magazine pages, and clever pineapple promotions helped push it into American kitchens. And by the time we get to the 1950s, it had become a real home baking classic. Cheerful, reliable, and just fancy enough to bring out when company was coming. It had that perfect mid-century quality. Simple ingredients, a bit of showmanship, and a final reveal that made everyone at the table pay attention. Not bad for a cake that spends most of its life upside down. Alright, time to get it out of the oven. The cake is ready when a toothpick comes out clean from the center, or with just a few moist crumbs. This one looks just right, so out it comes. And now we let it cool in the skillet for exactly 10 minutes. Not 2 minutes, not half an hour. 10 minutes gives the topping time to settle, but keeps the caramel warm enough to release. And that brings us to the moment of truth. Before we flip, I like to run a small knife around the edge of the cake, just to make sure nothing is clinging to the skillet walls like inside the leads. And now comes the trick that makes all the difference. We put the skillet back on the stove over very low heat for just 10 to 15 seconds, not longer. We are not baking it again. We are simply waking up the caramel so it remembers how to let go. Then we place a large plate over the skillet, take a deep breath, and flip it in one confident motion. No hesitation, no tiny nervous half flip. The cake can sense fear. And now we lift the skillet slowly. And there it is. Golden pineapple, cherries, caramel, and our beautiful old-fashioned cake. Right side up at last. If one pineapple ring sticks, don't panic. Just place it back where it belongs, smile confidently, and pretend that was always part of the choreography. But with the short warm-up, it usually releases beautifully. Now if you see any dry caramel spots, we can fix it very quickly. Just add 1 or 2 tablespoons of water to the still warm skillet, swirl it over low heat for a few seconds, and brush that little syrup over the top. And suddenly, our cake has the kind of shine that says, yes, I absolutely meant to look this glamorous. Now let it cool a little before slicing, if we can show that much restraint. Next, of course, comes the most important test, the taste. I love it. Soft yellow cake, bright pineapple, and a little amber caramel. Simple, cheerful, and just fancy enough to make a cup of coffee feel like company is coming. That is exactly the kind of old-fashioned table charm we were looking for. I think it's safe to say, this old classic still knows how to steal the show. And that, my friends, is our classic mid-century pineapple upside-down cake. A golden skillet dessert with a little theater, a little nostalgia, and a final reveal that reminds us why some classics never really disappear. If you enjoyed this little trip back to the 1950s dessert table, please leave a like and subscribe for more vintage recipes, timeless classics, and a little old-fashioned charm. And if you want to keep that vintage dessert spirit going, make sure to check out more of those classics right here. Thank you so much for watching. May your cakes flip cleanly, may your pineapple rings stay exactly where they belong. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.